Hello and welcome back to Enlighten Us, your easy path to learning. You are joining us for lesson 12 and today we are looking at the ism sentence الجملة الاسمية. Now in Arabic, when we're talking about sentences, الجمل, we are talking about two types. We are talking about the verbal and the nominal. The verbal, الجملة الفعلية, is a sentence that begins with a verb. It begins with a fi'l, hence why we call it الجملة الفعلية. The nominal, it begins with an ism, الجملة الاسمية, and that's why we call it الجملة الاسمية. Today we are focusing on الجملة الاسمية, the sentences that begin with an ism. Now for the جملة الاسمية, you need two components. You need the mubtada and the khabar. And what are the conditions for these components? Well, both the mubtada and the khabar need to be in a state of rafa, and often, but not always, the mubtada is proper, the khabar is common. Let's have a look at some examples. Right, let's have a look at our first example. الولد طويل. The boy is tall. الولد is our mubtada. We know this because we can see the dhamma which denotes rafa. It denotes that our mubtada is in rafa, and again, just as a reminder, it's a singular dhamma. There's no tanween, there's no double dhamma because the L doesn't permit this. طويل, on the other hand, is our khabar. And we know it's the khabar because we have the double dhamma, we have the tanween, طويل. Let's have a look at another example. الأولاد طوال. The boys are tall. الأولاد is our mubtada. And we know this because, again, we have the indication there of the dhamma, we have the indication of rafa'ness by that dhamma, and again, because of the L, you can only have the singular dhamma. Then we have tiwal or tiwalun, and that's a khabar, and we know it's a khabar because of the double dhamma, because of the tanween, that gives us an indication that tiwal is in a state of rafa. Now this is a slightly more interesting example. Huwa tawilun, he is tall. Now, huwa is our mubtada, but if you have a look here, you can see a fatha, but don't let that fatha fool you. Huwa is a pronoun, huwa is a damir, and therefore its state is not going to be in display. In other words, it's going to look the same, irrespective of whether it's rafa, nasab, or jar, and in this case it's very much, our mubtada is very much rafa. And tawil, as we've seen before, is our khabar, and that's denoted by the double dhamma, which tells us that it's in rafa. We've got another interesting example here. هذا طويل, this one is tall. Again, هذا is our mubtada, and again, the rafa'ness is not on display. This is one of our asma' al-ishara, if you remember. And our khabar, طويل, again, as we've seen, the rafa'ness is denoted by the double dhamma. So there's something to note here in terms of the components of what we've seen so far, that in terms of the jumla ismiya, we need a mubtada and the khabar. And we've seen our mubtada first, followed by the khabar. This order is can be reversed. So sometimes you can have the khabar preceding the mubtada. Also, the khabar is not always an ism, and we'll look at other examples in later lessons. So we've been looking at the jumla ismiya, and the jumla ismiya is a sentence that begins with an ism. In terms of composition, it has a mubtada and the khabar, and both of them have to be in the state of rafa. That's the end of our lesson. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out the description box for additional resources.